So our first keynote is not an AI researcher, but he's an associate of a professor in chemistry at the University of Amsterdam and co-founder of a startup, SUSFAS. And since he is the first speaker, he will talk about the very first phase in bringing science from lab to the market, which is the ideation phase. So give him a warm welcome, Chris Slootweg. Yes, the stage is yours.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Desiree. Yeah, exactly. I'm not an AI scientist, but I've got some good news for you how to link AI with sustainability, because that's really my core focus, and sustainability is really close to my heart, and it has several reasons. The first one is there is lots of work to do. I mean, if we think of all the sustainability goals that we want to achieve in 2030, there is really a lot to do. And here, AI can really be beneficial to speed up the development of sustainability. And this is also being recognized by the Faculty of Science across the road that just a few weeks ago decided to build a new research priority area linking AI to sustainability. And so that will start soon. So I've got a question for you, because if you think of a startup, you want to make impact. And if you think of sustainability, so my question to you is, what do you think is the most important sustainability challenge at the moment? The Netherlands, globally? What's the most important sustainability question? And you can use Slido. I will show your answers, your input in a minute. But yeah, just type in your answers, and I'm very curious what the output is. So overpopulation, energy transition, global warming, nitrogen, climate change, decrease emissions. And so that the majority of you are on energy transition and climate change. So that's indeed the answer that I thought you were saying. And if you think of starting a startup, what I think is also a key to be unique, to have a unique answer. And so to highlight sustainability challenges, I typically like to use this picture. It's a science paper from a few years ago that highlights the planetary boundaries. So in the green, it's our green sustainable planet. And clearly we're not doing too well on a few aspects that I like to highlight as global waste problems. And so on top is obviously climate change. Too much CO2 in the air, but there is more, because too much CO2 in water leads to ocean acidification. We use nutrients, fertilizers for food production. So that's over here. And actually all these global waste problems are connected. And they're connected also to biodiversity loss, which is also on top in red. And so what we decided, because many people are focusing on climate change and the energy transition, clearly with little impact so far, but slowly we're speeding up, we thought this topic gets even less attention. And according to this picture from that science paper, clearly it needs a lot of attention. So we thought, can we somehow solve this problem, or at least contribute to this? So that was our ideation phase. And so how does this problem look like? It looks like this. And so fertilizers are applied on arable land, and then they siphon off through the waterways, and then once a fertilizer, always a fertilizer, so they fertilize rivers, oceans, lakes. So this yields eutrophication and creates dead zones. So below these algae, there is little oxygen, little light, so hence the ecosystem is not so happy. So we thought, can we provide solutions? Can we recover those nutrients? And second, can we actually reuse them, recycle them, close the loop? So the first part, recovery, is actually already slowly being done in the Netherlands and in Germany. Because if you think of what's the problem, if you think of phosphorus, if you think of nitrogen, they're both highly soluble in water. So what if you do this classical high school chemistry experiment? You add another salt, and then you basically precipitate the desired ions. And so if you add magnesium, you can precipitate nitrogen and phosphorus, and you only use magnesium for that. And so this has been done already at like 20 kiloton scale annually in the Netherlands. So now the waste is not in the environment, it's basically on a pile, and it's hardly used. So we thought, what about using this as a renewable resource and just make some products that we anyway need? So this is the technology that we developed. And so we use this renewable phosphate ammonium source as resource, and we create, for example, ammonium phosphate, which is a specialty fertilizer. So we use the nitrogen, we use the phosphorus, and our technology also allows the feedback loop of magnesium, which then goes back into the recycling again. And so this is pretty ideal. It works on milligram scale, it works on gram scale. We scaled it up at the university here to 0.5 kilogram scale. And now Sysfos, the company, is able to realize a pilot over there in batch at 50 kilogram scale, and the continuous process now runs at 0.5 ton per hour. And so this really is really nice to see that you come up with an idea and you see this grow and grow, and they're really aiming at building a commercial factory in the coming years, which is still surreal to me, but I mean the story is still too good to be true. So other lessons learned. So my first one is how to go from lab to market. And if you think of a company where the R&D is not talking to sales, that's a bit funny, right? But if you think of academia, many researchers, they focus on scientific impact for good reasons. But to cross this classical valley of death, you do not only need to focus on scientific impact, but you need to look at the market. You need to look at societal impact. And I like to do both and try to combine things, get inspiration from society, and then formulate new research questions. And so I think this valley for academic research there is an inherent valley, simply because the focus of many in the lab is on the lab, not on the market. But who can actually cross this valley is the entrepreneurial academic who really wants to apply those results and not only publish a paper, but also see impact in society. And I think that's really, really nice to combine it, as well as to stimulate the entrepreneurial academic with events like this. So the second, you need a team. You cannot do this alone. And I'll show you a picture of the Sysfos team of 2018, prior to our launch of the company, just to indicate the adventure that we started. So Marissa, a PhD in my group at the time, Bas, our technician, and me, we slowly adapted to new roles, learned a lot, make mistakes, learned a lot again, and always you need advisors. At every stage of development, you need the right advisors who actually can make the right decisions. And the other thing is the power to adapt. Because once the company was launched, I decided to remain in academia. And for example, Willem Schipper, who was an advisor, became the CTO of the company. And Marissa is still the CEO, very successfully, continuously growing the company. And the third, I mean, you can have this awesome idea, but if you don't have a business case written down at the back of the envelope that highlights who is your customer, who will buy your product or service at what price, then you will never maybe be able to reach the market. As in our case, the product is what we need, that what we always need. It's a high quality fertilizer. And simply we do not use fossil resources that are depleting, but we use waste as a resource, and we create it at the same quality. So with that, I just hope I highlighted a few aspects of our ideation phase, and I look forward if you have any further questions.
I saw, is this the current state or how fast it changes? Yeah, I give it a thumbs up, so that's mine. to be sure. Do you get it? I mean, is this the current state? What is he referring to, or she?
Yeah, if the one is in a room, can you elaborate? So if it's about, yeah? You mean the planetary boundaries with the waste problems, or not? Yeah, that's the current state. And actually more and more waste problems are being quantified.
I'll run to you because you keep on talking and nobody can hear you. I hope this works. Turn it on or not? Yeah.
Okay. Yes. That graph, it shows the current state for all these different problems and not the rate of change. So then it could be that the ones that look relatively small there are changing very quickly. So there actually should be a big problem.
No, it's a good point. And actually, this picture is being updated regularly. The ones I showed is already the second science paper on the topic. And a few waste issues are recently also being quantified. The impact on fresh water, the impact on chemicals on the environment. But I like to use it because it gives a complete overview of the major waste problems that need to be tackled using any means, also including AI.
Do you also have any?
Sorry, one question for one person. There are more questions. Was it hard to move an academic idea into practice?
And with our team, it wasn't hard. It was hard work, but the idea was and still is awesome. I mean, if you can use waste as resource, solve a waste issue globally, locally, create locally renewable resources, and create high-value products at the same time, that idea still stands, and we're scaling up to realize it and also to have an impact.
Can you move up a little bit with the questions? Because there are more questions with thumbs up in the beginning. Yes, that was the first question. Great. Groningen is still popular. All right. What are the biggest challenges for an academic entrepreneur?
I would say really create a business mindset. You know, the scientific question, you want details, answers at the detailed level. For applying it, you know, if it works, it works. Just go to the next stage. So really different mindset.
And how the big question is, how do you get this magical mindset? How do you develop it?
Yeah, that's a good question. Are you an entrepreneurial academic, or are you born that way, or can you learn it? I mean, to be stimulated to really apply the results, I think that's very important, because that's also what we experienced. So Marissa won the ACE Venture Bootcamp, just after doing one single experiment in the lab.
Wow.
We had a proof of principle, and the idea, the committee says it's too good to be true. It still is, I guess, but we're applying it on larger scale now.
Yeah, good. We have time for one or two more questions, depending on your answer. What was the biggest mistake you and your team made during the years?
I don't
The
know.
biggest mistake, yes, come on.
I don't know.
You made some.
I mean, Marissa is the CEO of Susfos and leading the company very successfully.
What was your mistake then? What could you have done better? Okay, that's...
I mean, what is interesting is the development, because it started in my lab, and then we had research in my lab and research at Susfos, scaling up the results, so this interplay. And then, I mean, now the company is on their own feet, really exploring, and then to have more interaction while still they are independent and be able to grow. I think that's a challenge. But I think Marissa is leading the company very successfully. And I mentioned the power to adapt, because Susfos had already a few different CTOs. If something happens, then you need the power to adapt, to rearrange the team. So that's key. If something goes wrong, it's okay, but sometimes you need to make drastic changes, and that's what Susfos also did.
Yeah, but now you mentioned something you did very successfully. Probably you learned to adapt from something, some mistake when you didn't adapt enough.
Yeah.
Probably. Okay, let's move on. The last question for now is the technology patented? Is that the most popular right now?
Yeah, the answer is yes. So the UVA filed a patent, and also Susfos filed 1 or 2 patents.
All right. Well, that's a short answer. Then we can move on to another. How did you manage IP transfer? The very last one.
That took 2 years.
Oh, 2 years. Yeah.
No, but that's also, I think, just an interesting aspect, because if you stimulate entrepreneurship, then at some point you have to talk about business, and you have to make agreements, and then it's really serious business arrangements, which also are essential. But I think the key is to have a great idea, to exploit it, and then to be able to launch a startup and to learn from the entire adventure.
Yeah, that's what we learned from you, from your talk. Have a brilliant idea. So thank you so much, Chris.
Thanks.
Oh, yeah. A clicker and a mic, yeah. That's what I should hand over to our second keynote. And our second keynote will be online. But before we will welcome her, I have another Slido question for you. Goodbye for now, for people leaving. They are probably fans of you, Chris. They only wanted to hear you. They are not reacting at all. Okay, right. Okay. But what is my Slido question for you? Yes, I'm curious in which domain you currently work. So are there people here from a chemical department like Chris, or are you more into healthcare or robotics? Just to get to know each other, who is here in the audience. Go to Slido and fill in the poll question, please. And we'll come back to the answer after our second keynote. And I hope our second keynote is online right now, because then she can, then I can announce her, and then we can give her a big applause. But I must be sure she's online, is she? Oh, great. And she can hear us. Probably. Oh, there were the results already. All right, I'll announce her. She is professor at the University of Amsterdam, focusing on fair, transparent and accountable AI. And she's the scientific co-director of Civic AI Lab. And she's the founder of Owls, Uilen and Arrows, a company specialized in algorithmic auditing. And she will share with us what challenges she encountered when applying data science in a business context, as well as her personal challenges as an entrepreneur. So, is she online? And can she hear us? She can hear us? Okay, well, please give her a big hand. Hinda Haned.
Great. Well, hi everyone. I do hope you can hear me, and if not, I hope that someone will reach out at some point. I mean, I do it all the time. And there's a difference between hiring, reaching out to me through my company and telling me, can you come and teach people for 4 hours for free? I don't do that, and nobody should work for free. And to get organized would be my last advice. I think this helped me a lot in doing desk research and doing competitor analysis and those kind of things. And just try and find a tool. For me, Notion still works really, really well. Pretty much my whole life is in there, and it really, really helped me also get started quickly, because I was really able to kind of channel the information and this kind of stuff. Yeah, so that's it. I had 10 minutes. I hope I did well time-wise. Maybe I talked too much, but in any case, I'm happy to take your questions.
Yeah, to be precise. Ja, nu ben ik er. 12 minutes, Hinda. So this was quite perfect. We do have some questions for you, but let's have a look first at our poll we asked just before you started talking, where people here work. Well, most people here work in academia and in AI, so let's not be surprised about that. Another big area is healthcare, government, startups, education, and venture capital. And let's see if we see some funny, interesting, Groningen, of course. Groningen keeps coming back, yeah. It's very funny. Climate issues as well, so there I see a connection. All right, thanks. Let's move on to the questions, because I saw at least 3 interesting questions coming by for you, Hinda. And the question with the most thumbs is, what is the name of your consultancy based on? Is that a question for Hinda?
Short answer is that how I tell to my clients is that the owls represent wisdom and arrows represent direction. So it's kind of, wisdom and direction.
Ah, yes.
Not great, but I couldn't find a better name. So.
It's a great name.
Advice, like, don't spend too much time on naming your company. I spend a ridiculous amount of time on that.
Don't say sorry. It's a perfect name. All right. Don't say sorry. Women always say sorry for a lot of things. Never stop with it. How much do you think your industry experience helped you with overcoming challenges in starting a business?
Industry, because essentially what I ended up doing in these industry jobs is that I ended up having like my own company within the company, and in my last job, which is what the job that encouraged me to start my own business, I had to do the financing myself. Like I had to kind of use all these financial systems. I had to hire people, but I also had to do the HR part, and it was just so much work. And a lot of people who start their company or want to start a company, they're afraid of the administrative stuff, and then I thought, hey, I'm already doing that, so I might as well do it for myself. So I think it helped me a lot, and also it helped me in growing a network. So I have a pretty big network that I would say a meaningful network, so folks that I'm in contact with regularly, folks that I've collaborated with, so that definitely helped, and it came mostly from my industry experience and from my academic experience. And also one thing that I felt like I learned that I find very useful now is just saying no and being okay with it. Like a lot of folks, when working in big companies, have to get a lot. I felt like that definitely helped me in the way I operate right now.
All right. Because of the time, I have to say goodbye to you, Hinda. So a big applause for you again.